It was just another busy Friday evening at the Lantern Bistro, a restaurant known for its fine dining and elegant atmosphere. The soft lighting and carefully set tables made it a favorite among those who loved luxury, but for the staff, it meant a night filled with hard work. Among the waitstaff was 25-year-old Mia, a young woman with a warm smile and a determined spirit. She'd been working at the Lantern for nearly 2 years, always putting her best foot forward, no matter how hectic the night was. Mia had learned to juggle multiple tables, remembering everyone's order and making sure her customers felt special. She'd been through countless nights like this one, where the restaurant was packed and every second counted. But tonight, something felt different. As Mia made her way to the front of the restaurant, she noticed a ripple of excitement sweeping through the dining room. A few whispers filled the air, and heads turned in her direction. She couldn't help but wonder what was happening. That's when she saw him, the famous singer, Jason Carter. He had just walked in, wearing a sleek black suit, his sunglasses still perched on top of his head. His presence was undeniable. The atmosphere seemed to shift as he entered the room. The buzz in the air was unmistakable, the kind that only a true celebrity could create. Mia had seen Jason on TV countless times, his songs constantly playing on the radio. But she had never imagined she would see him in person. For a moment, Mia hesitated. It wasn't that she was starstruck. She'd met famous people before, and she knew how to act professional. But Jason Carter was different. He had a way of lighting up the room just by being there. Mia quickly shook off her nerves and approached his table, ready to take his order. "Good evening, Mr. Carter. Welcome to the Lantern Bistro. May I take your order?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing thoughts. Jason smiled warmly at her, his eyes glinting with kindness. "Please, call me Jason. It's a pleasure to be here." Mia nodded, slightly relieved. She took out her notepad, prepared to write down his order. But as she stood there, ready to serve, she noticed something. Jason didn't seem like he was in a good mood. His usual charm was there, but there was a sadness behind his eyes. It was subtle, but it was enough for Mia to notice. After a few moments of silence, she spoke gently, trying to break the tension. "You seem like you've had a long day, Mr. Carter. Can I get you something to help relax?" Jason paused, as if considering whether to share anything with her. Then, to her surprise, he sighed and leaned back in his chair. "It's been a rough week," he said, his voice softer now. "I've been dealing with some personal issues, and it's starting to take a toll on me." Mia could tell this wasn't the usual celebrity banter. He seemed real, vulnerable in a way she hadn't expected. Without thinking, she lowered her notepad and took a step closer. "You know, sometimes the best way to deal with stress is just to talk about it. I'm here if you need someone to listen." Jason looked up at her, surprised by her kindness. "You're a good person, Mia. Thanks for being so understanding." Mia smiled, her heart warming at his words. She hadn't expected the night to take such a turn, but she knew she had made a small difference by offering a little comfort. As she left to give him a few moments of peace, she couldn't help but feel a small connection forming. Little did she know, this brief moment of kindness would soon change everything. Mia returned to the back of the restaurant to check on her other tables, but she couldn't stop thinking about her brief conversation with Jason Carter. She didn't know why, but something about him felt different from other famous people she had met before. Most of the time, celebrities came and went without leaving much of an impression. They were like distant stars, untouchable and out of reach. But Jason was different. He seemed human, just like anyone else, struggling with his own problems. As the night went on, Maya found herself stealing glances at Jason from time to time. She could see him sitting at his table, staring into his drink with a thoughtful expression. He was alone, except for his bodyguard, who kept a watchful eye from a distance. Most celebrities at places like this had entourages, but Jason seemed to prefer being alone. Mia couldn't shake the feeling that he was in pain. She had seen it in the way he held himself, his shoulders slumped, his eyes distant. She had worked in the restaurant long enough to spot when someone was pretending to be fine. Jason was trying to hide it, but his sadness was clear. She paused for a moment, wondering if she should offer to help again, but she quickly dismissed the thought. After all, she was just a waitress. What could she possibly say to help someone like him? Still, her heart ached seeing him so lonely. A little later, during a quieter part of the evening, Maya found herself walking past Jason's table again. This time, there was a slight hesitation in her steps. She wasn't sure if she should interrupt him or just let him be. But as she passed, Jason's eyes met hers. His gaze softened, and for a moment, it felt like the world around them had faded away. "Mia," he said, his voice low but steady. "Do you mind if I ask you something?" Mia was surprised, but she nodded, stepping closer to him. "Of course, Mr. Carter. What's on your mind?" Jason took a deep breath before speaking. "I know this might sound strange, but do you ever feel like no matter how much you try to keep going, everything just seems to fall apart?" Mia stood there, her heart racing. She could see the pain behind his words. "I understand what you mean," she replied softly. "Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things just don't seem to get better. But you have to keep going anyway." Jason looked at her, his eyes thoughtful. "You're right. I guess I just needed someone to say that." Mia smiled gently. "You're not alone. We all go through tough times, but it's the little things that keep us going." The simple words seemed to lighten the weight on Jason's shoulders. He smiled back, his usual charm returning, but there was a softness to it now. "Thank you, Mia. You're a good person." For a brief moment, Mia felt like she had done something meaningful, something beyond just delivering food or taking orders. She had listened. She had offered comfort. It was the simplest thing, but it felt important. Little did she know, this small act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. As Mia walked away from the table, she couldn't help but feel a warm sense of fulfillment. Helping Jason had been a natural thing for her to do, something she did without thinking. Yet, as she thought about it, she realized it might have meant more to him than she could ever know. The evening had gone by quickly. Mia had served dozens of tables, all while trying to keep her mind focused. But no matter how hard she tried, her thoughts kept drifting back to Jason. What had started as a small gesture of kindness had somehow made the night feel different, and she couldn't help but wonder how he was doing. Just as she was wiping down one of the tables near the kitchen, her manager, Mr. Harris, appeared at the doorway. His face was stern, and Mia could tell something was wrong. "Mia, can you come with me for a moment?" Mr. Harris said in a low voice. Mia's heart sank. She had no idea what was going on, but she followed him to the back office, where he closed the door behind them. The moment they were alone, Mia felt a wave of unease wash over her. "Sit down, please," Mr. Harris said, motioning to the chair across from him. Mia obeyed, her nerves on edge. She had no idea what this was about. Had she made a mistake while serving the table? Was something wrong with her performance? She couldn't think of anything she had done wrong, but the atmosphere in the room made her uneasy. "Listen, Mia," Mr. Harris began, his voice cold. "I saw you talking to Jason Carter tonight." Mia nodded, trying to stay calm. "Yes, Mr. Harris. I just spoke with him for a moment. He seemed like he needed someone to talk to, so That's the problem," Mr. Harris interrupted. "You crossed a line tonight, Mia. It's against our policy for staff to engage with high-profile guests on a personal level. You're here to serve, not to get involved in their business." Mia blinked in confusion. She had been helping someone who clearly needed it, someone who was struggling. Why was that a problem? "I didn't mean any harm, sir," Maya said, her voice trembling slightly. "I just wanted to be kind." He seemed like he was having a hard time. Mr. Harris didn't soften. "It doesn't matter. Mia, you've made a mistake. You're fired. Effective immediately." Mia's mouth went dry. Fired. It didn't make sense. She had worked so hard at the Lantern. She loved her job. It was her livelihood, her way of supporting herself. How could this be happening over something as simple as a conversation? "But Mr. Harris, please," Maya started, trying to find the right words. "I didn't mean any harm. I was just trying to help. Why can't I just apologize and continue working?" Mr. Harris shook his head, his expression unwavering. "The decision is final. I'm sorry, but you're done here." Mia felt the tears welling up, but she fought them back. She had always prided herself on keeping calm under pressure, but this was different. She stood up slowly, trying to process what had just happened. Her mind raced with confusion and anger. How could she be fired for simply showing kindness to someone in need? As she grabbed her coat and walked out of the office, Maya felt a deep sense of betrayal. The world around her felt like it had suddenly shifted. She had done the right thing, or at least what she thought was right. Yet now, here she was, out of a job, with no clear explanation for why it had happened. The night had taken an unexpected and painful turn, and Mia wasn't sure where to go from here. Mia stepped out of the Lantern Bistro and into the cold night air, her mind spinning with disbelief. The harsh words from Mr. Harris echoed in her ears as she walked away from the restaurant. Fired. It didn't seem real. She had worked so hard at the restaurant, always giving her best, always trying to be kind to the customers. She couldn't understand how a small moment of compassion had turned into this, a moment that had cost her her job. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the weight of the situation. The cold night air felt sharp against her skin, but it couldn't compare to the chill inside her. How could this have happened? She hadn't broken any rules, hadn't done anything wrong. She had simply spoken to Jason Carter, a celebrity who seemed like he needed someone to talk to. Was that really a mistake? As Mia walked down the empty streets, her thoughts turned to the uncertainty of what was ahead. She had bills to pay, rent to cover, and now she had no job. Her mind raced with questions. What would she do now? How would she explain this to her family? They would be disappointed, confused. They had always been so proud of her work ethic, and now she felt like she had let them down. Mia sat down on a nearby bench, trying to collect her thoughts. She had always been someone who could take the tough moments and turn them into something better. But this time, it felt different. It felt like she had no control over the situation, like she had been caught in something far bigger than she could understand. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her out of her thoughts. She pulled it out, expecting it to be a text from one of her friends asking if she was okay. But instead, it was a call from an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Hello, Mia," a voice on the other end said. It was a woman's voice, calm but with an edge of urgency. "This is Kelly from the Elite Event Planning Agency. I'm calling because of a recommendation from Jason Carter." Mia's heart skipped a beat. Jason Carter. She had only spoken to him for a few minutes. She hadn't expected him to remember her, let alone recommend her for something. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake," Maya said, her voice filled with confusion. "I don't know why Jason would recommend me. I was just a waitress at a restaurant." "Please, hear me out," Kelly interrupted. "Jason was so moved by your kindness last night that he asked us to get in touch with you. He's hosting an exclusive event soon, and he specifically requested that you be part of the team." Mia sat up straighter, her confusion turning into disbelief. "What? But I don't understand. Why me?" "We've been told you're someone who shows real compassion, Mia. Jason thought you would be perfect for this event. He mentioned that you made a huge difference for him, just by listening to him." Mia couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mind was still trying to process the shock of being fired, but now someone was offering her a new opportunity, one she had never imagined. The idea of working at such an event seemed unreal. I don't know what to say," Maya stammered. "I've never done anything like this before. I'm just a waitress." "You're more than just a waitress, Mia," Kelly said, her voice reassuring. You have the qualities we need: kindness, professionalism, and a genuine heart. Jason believes in you, and so do we." Mia felt a spark of hope. After everything that had happened, this was the last thing she had expected. Was it possible that the kindness she had shown to Jason would lead to something so unexpected? "Well, I'd like to hear more about it," Maya said, her voice shaking with excitement. "Great," Kelly replied. "We'll send you the details soon. And Mia, I'm looking forward to working with you." As Mia ended the call, she sat there for a moment, unable to process the turn her life had just taken. She had gone from being fired to receiving an opportunity that seemed to come out of nowhere. Could this really be happening? For the first time that night, a small smile appeared on her face. Things were uncertain, yes, but maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something better. The next morning, Mia woke up with a heavy heart. The events of the night before replayed in her mind over and over. The sting of being fired, the confusion of it all, still weighed on her. She had tried to sleep, but the unease in her stomach kept her awake for hours. She sat up in bed, staring out the window at the quiet street below. How could she have gone from helping someone to losing her job? It didn't make sense. She was still trying to come to terms with the unfairness of it. But as the day wore on, Mia tried to focus on the future. She couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for herself. She had always been strong, and she needed to remember that. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. Mia glanced at the screen, expecting it to be one of her friends checking in on her. Instead, it was a message from the same number that had called her the night before. It was from Kelly at the Elite Event Planning Agency. Mia's heart skipped a beat. She had been thinking about the offer all night, wondering if it was some kind of mistake. But now, seeing the message, her hopes lifted. She opened the text eagerly. "Hi Mia, I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to confirm that we're still excited to have you join us for Jason Carter's upcoming event. We got everything ready for you. I'll send you the details soon. Looking forward to meeting you." Mia stared at the message for a moment, unsure if she was reading it correctly. This was really happening. She had been given an opportunity, one that could change everything. But the reality of it felt so surreal. Just the night before, she had been fired. Now she was being invited to work with one of the biggest celebrities in the industry. Her mind raced with excitement. And yet, a part of her was still uncertain. This was a huge change, and she had never done anything like this before. She was just a waitress, after all. But something inside her told her this was her chance, a chance to prove herself and to move forward. Mia quickly replied to Kelly's message, her fingers shaking as she typed. "Thank you so much. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to learning more about the event." Once she sent the message, she sat back against the pillows, trying to process the whirlwind of emotions that had taken over. She felt nervous, excited, and even a little scared. This was a big step for her, and she didn't want to mess it up. But she also knew that this might be the break she had been waiting for. A few hours later, Kelly sent over the details for the event. It was more than Mia could have imagined. The event was going to be held at an upscale venue, with some of the most influential people in the industry attending. Jason Carter would be there, of course, along with other celebrities and VIPs. Maya would be working as part of the catering team, but she would also have the chance to interact with guests and help make the event memorable. The thought of being part of something so high-profile made Mia nervous, but she knew she couldn't pass up the chance. This could be the turning point in her life, the moment she would look back on and realize everything changed. As she read through the details, a small, hopeful smile spread across her face. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like things might just be turning around. It was a new beginning, and Mia was ready to embrace it. The days leading up to the event seemed to pass in a blur. Mia's mind was full of thoughts about what was coming next. The excitement and nervousness blended together as she prepared for the big day. She had always worked hard, but this opportunity felt different. It wasn't just another job. It was a chance to prove herself, to show that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. When the day finally arrived, Mia woke up early, full of anticipation. She spent extra time getting ready, making sure everything was perfect. She had never worked an event like this before, and she wanted to make the best first impression. She put on the uniform provided by the event planning company, a sleek black dress and matching shoes, and headed out to the venue. The venue was breathtaking. Located in the heart of the city, it was an elegant space with towering glass windows that overlooked the skyline. The lobby was filled with soft lights and luxurious decorations. The excitement in the air was palpable. This wasn't just another catering job. This was something special, and Mia could already feel the difference. As she walked through the doors, Kelly, the woman who had reached out to her, greeted her with a warm smile. "Mia, I'm so glad you made it. Let me introduce you to the team," Kelly said as she led Mia toward a group of people who were busy preparing for the event. The staff were all professional and friendly, and Mia felt a bit more at ease as she joined them. They explained their roles and the plan for the evening, and Mia was given a few instructions on how she would be helping throughout the event. It seemed like there was a lot to do, but Mia was eager to dive in. She wanted to prove herself and show everyone that she was more than capable of handling this new responsibility. After a brief introduction, Kelly pulled Mia aside. "I just wanted to remind you that you'll be interacting with some very important people tonight. Jason Carter himself will be here, and there will be other celebrities and VIP guests. Be confident and just be yourself. You've got this." Mia smiled nervously but nodded. "Thank you, Kelly. I won't let you down." As the event started, Mia was thrown into the whirlwind of activity. Servers moved quickly through the crowd, delivering drinks and appetizers to the guests. The music played softly in the background, and the atmosphere was electric. Mia kept her eyes on her tasks, but she couldn't help but notice the many familiar faces in the crowd. There were famous actors, musicians, and business leaders all mingling and chatting. At one point, Jason Carter made his way through the room, surrounded by his security team. He caught Mia's eye as he passed, and she quickly remembered her earlier conversation with him. She wasn't sure if he remembered her, but when he smiled at her, it felt like a small connection was still there. As the evening continued, Mia found herself moving from one task to the next, each one more exciting than the last. She helped set up the stage for speeches, served drinks to the guests, and made sure everything ran smoothly. She was surprised at how well she handled everything. Despite the nerves, she was beginning to feel more comfortable in this new environment. She was doing it. She was part of something big, and she was proving to herself that she could succeed. By the end of the night, Mia was exhausted, but the sense of accomplishment she felt was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She had been a part of something incredible, and she had done her best. As she left the venue, she couldn't stop smiling. This was just the beginning, and Mia knew that no matter where her journey took her, she had proven to herself that she could rise above the challenges and seize the opportunities life had to offer. The night of the event had ended, but Mia couldn't stop thinking about it. The hours had flown by in a blur of activity, and even though she was tired, she felt something inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. She had done more than just serve drinks or set up tables. She had stepped into a new world and proven that she was capable of handling it. She had faced her nerves, her doubts, and the unfamiliar territory of working with celebrities and VIPs, and she had done it with grace. As Mia walked home that night, she thought back on the little moments that stood out. The way the guests smiled as she served them, how confident she had felt when managing different tasks, and most importantly, the way Jason Carter had looked at her during the event. He had smiled, but it wasn't just any smile. It was a genuine smile, one that said he remembered her and appreciated her kindness from the night at the restaurant. The next few days were a whirlwind. Mia received several calls from the event planning company asking her to come back for more events. Her reputation had spread quickly among the team. Kelly told her that Jason had specifically requested her for upcoming events, saying that she was professional, attentive, and had a real presence. Mia was shocked by the praise. Just a few days ago, she had been fired for something as simple as showing kindness, and now here she was, being recommended for more work by one of the biggest celebrities in the industry. She quickly realized that Jason's recommendation was no small thing. He wasn't just another guest at the event. His influence could open doors for her. Her role in the catering team started to expand. She was no longer just a server. She was being given more responsibility, and her confidence grew with each new task. Whether it was helping coordinate the event's flow, setting up speeches, or managing guests, Mia was becoming an integral part of the team. As the weeks passed, Mia's career began to take off. The more she worked, the more people noticed her. Her warm personality, hard-working nature, and ability to handle any situation made her a favorite among the staff and guests. Jason continued to recommend her for every event, and soon, other celebrities and high-profile clients started asking for her specifically. One afternoon, Mia received an unexpected message from Kelly. "Mia, I've got great news. Jason Carter is hosting a huge charity gala, and he's requested you to be the lead coordinator for the event. You've proven yourself, and now we're offering you a full-time position. It's a big step, but I believe you're ready." Mia's heart raced as she read the message. Lead coordinator, full-time position. This was the opportunity she had dreamed of, but it felt almost too good to be true. She had gone from a waitress at a small bistro to working with some of the most famous people in the world. Her hard work and kindness had truly paid off. She called Kelly immediately, her voice filled with excitement. "I'm ready. I can't wait to take on this new role." The next few days were filled with preparation. Mia worked closely with the event planners, learning the ins and outs of coordinating such a large event. She met with Jason a few times to go over the details, and every time, he expressed his appreciation for her work. "You've come a long way, Mia. I'm glad I made that recommendation," he told her during one of their meetings. As the charity gala drew closer, Mia felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. This was the biggest event she had ever worked on, and she knew the pressure would be intense. But now she felt ready. She had worked hard to get here, and this was her chance to show everyone, including herself, that she could handle it. By the night of the gala, Mia was no longer just the girl who had been fired for helping a famous person. She was a rising star in the event planning world, and she was about to prove just how far she had come. The day of the charity gala had finally arrived. Mia was both excited and nervous. Everything she had worked for was leading up to this moment, and she knew that the pressure would be on. She had come so far since that night when she had been fired from the Lantern Bistro. Now she was preparing to lead one of the most important events of her career so far. The venue was stunning, the decorations were elegant, and the energy in the air was electric. Celebrities, business leaders, and philanthropists were arriving in their finest attire, all gathered to support a good cause. Mia's heart raced as she walked through the space, checking every detail, making sure everything was perfect. She was no longer just a part of the catering staff. She was in charge. As she checked in with her team, giving instructions, and making sure everyone was on track, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Mia glanced at it quickly, thinking it was another message from one of her colleagues. But when she saw the caller ID, her stomach dropped. It was Mr. Harris, the manager from the Lantern Bistro, the last person she expected to hear from. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should answer. After everything that had happened, she wasn't sure what he wanted. But she took a deep breath and picked up the phone. "Hello, Mr. Harris," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Mia," Mr. Harris said, his voice sounding different than she remembered. "I hope I'm not disturbing you, but I wanted to talk to you for a moment." Mia raised an eyebrow, feeling a mix of confusion and caution. "Sure, what's going on?" "I'm sure you've been busy with your new job, but I wanted to reach out," he began. I've had some time to think about what happened at the restaurant. I realize now that I made a mistake." Mia's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this kind of apology, especially after the way he had treated her. She remained quiet, waiting for him to continue. "I shouldn't have fired you the way I did," Mr. Harris admitted. "You were just trying to help someone, and I should have seen that. It wasn't fair to you. I'm sorry, Mia." Mia was silent for a moment, taking in his words. She had never imagined she would hear this from him. She had spent days wondering if she would ever get an explanation, and now here it was, but she wasn't sure how to respond. "Thank you for saying that," Maya finally said. "It means a lot to hear you acknowledge it. I understand if you don't want to come back," Mr. Harris continued. "But I wanted to offer you your job back. If you're interested, we would love to have you return. I know I made a mistake, and I'm hoping you can forgive me." Mia's mind raced. Just a few months ago, she had been fired with no explanation. Now, here he was, offering her a chance to return. But Mia knew that she had already moved on. She had proven to herself that she was capable of so much more. She had taken the leap into a new career, and she wasn't going to let the past hold her back. "Thank you, Mr. Harris," Maya said, her voice steady. "I appreciate the offer, but I've found a new path for myself. I've learned a lot, and I'm not looking back." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. "I understand," Mr. Harris said softly. "I wish you the best, Mia. You deserve it." Mia smiled to herself. This was the closure she had needed. The job offer from the Lantern was a part of her past now, and she was ready to keep moving forward. As she hung up the phone, Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had made the right choice. She had followed her heart, and now she was in charge of her own future. The charity gala was a success, and her new career was just beginning. For the first time in a long while, Mia felt completely at peace with her decisions. She had come a long way from the waitress who had been fired for helping someone. Now she was standing at the top of a new chapter in her life, and she knew that the best was yet to come. The night of the charity gala had passed, and the buzz from the successful event was still fresh in Mia's mind. She couldn't stop smiling as she reflected on everything that had led to this moment. The room had been filled with laughter and conversations, all centered around a good cause. Mia had been a key part of it, making sure everything ran smoothly. As the guests departed and the venue slowly emptied out, Maya stood alone for a moment, taking it all in. The sense of pride she felt in that moment was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She had come so far, farther than she had ever imagined possible. Just months ago, she had been fired from the Lantern Bistro for showing kindness. But now, here she was, leading an event attended by some of the most influential people in the world. She couldn't help but think back to how everything had started. It all began with a simple conversation with Jason Carter, a celebrity who had needed someone to talk to. That one moment of compassion had set off a chain of events that had changed her life. It hadn't been easy, but Mia had worked hard to get to where she was now. She had faced doubts, disappointments, and difficult decisions, but she had never given up. Mia took a deep breath and smiled to herself. She had learned so much along the way. She had learned that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could lead to the biggest changes. She had learned that even when things seemed impossible, there was always a way forward. And most importantly, she had learned that she was stronger than she had ever realized. The next morning, Mia woke up to a message from Kelly, confirming that the gala had been a huge success. "You were amazing last night, Mia," Kelly wrote. "We couldn't have done it without you. I'm looking forward to working together on more events." Mia couldn't believe how far she had come in such a short time. The offer to be the lead coordinator for the event had turned into so much more. It had opened doors to new opportunities and connections. Jason Carter had even personally thanked her for her work, saying she had exceeded all expectations. He had been impressed with her professionalism and dedication, and it made Mia feel more confident than ever. As she continued to work with the event planning company, Mia found herself taking on even more responsibility. She coordinated larger events, worked with more high-profile clients, and even began mentoring some of the newer staff members. She had become a respected figure in the industry, known for her ability to handle any situation with grace and professionalism. Despite all the success, Mia never forgot where she came from. She made sure to stay grounded, always remembering the difficult days when she had been fired and unsure of her future. She knew that without those challenges, she wouldn't have been able to appreciate how far she had come. Every step of the journey had shaped her into the person she was today. One afternoon, as Mia sat in her office preparing for an upcoming event, she received another unexpected call. This time, it was from Mr. Harris, the manager from the Lantern Bistro. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing," he said, his voice sincere. "I've been following your progress, and I'm really proud of everything you've accomplished. You've done an incredible job." Mia. Mia smiled, surprised by the call. "Thank you, Mr. Harris. That means a lot to me." As the conversation ended, Mia sat back in her chair, feeling a sense of closure. She had come full circle. She had proven not only to others, but to herself that she was capable of achieving greatness. She was no longer the person who had been fired for a simple act of kindness. She was someone who had created her own path, and that path was just beginning. Looking out the window at the city below, Mia knew that the future was wide open. She had made it this far, and she wasn't about to stop now. This was only the beginning of her journey, and she was ready for whatever came next.